Hi, Jessica. Hi, Dr. Hawks. Welcome to my video, final reflection. I chose to do it this way. I just thought it would be easier. I've been doing a lot of writing lately, so I thought I'd work on my video production skills. I wanted to thank you both for your time, for your energy, and most of all, I want to thank you for your support this semester. Losing my uncle in the middle of the semester was extremely difficult for me with the traveling and just being there for him in his final days, as well as being there for my family as we prepared his funeral and getting back to Atlanta and getting back into the swing of things. It was tough. So I appreciate all of your support with that. I did learn a lot this semester, and I want to share some of those things with you. I will be answering the questions that you required for this presentation, and hopefully you'll find this information useful. So the first question you asked was to describe in detail any specific presentations from other members of the class and how they impacted your evolving views on writing, teaching, or learning over the semester. It kind of caught me off guard at first, just trying to think about presentations from my peers. And so I thought I would just focus on the final presentations and point out just a few that I found very helpful. I enjoyed the presentation on identity and intimacy. I thought that was extremely creative. That was one of the creative presentations that I enjoyed. I found that quite a few of my classmates were looking to think a little outside the box in terms of writing center scholarship and the work of the tutor, what goes on in the tutoring session, etc., the interactions between the tutor and the tutee. And this was one that I really could identify with, all the ones on identity, but definitely this one. I appreciated this one because when I read in, I think it was in the Bedford Guide, about the position of the tutor and the tutee at the table, I almost got a little defensive thinking about the recommendation that we sit on the same side of the table with the tutee. Just felt like that was a little too intimate for me. However, in my practicum, more so at the Clarkson campus than the Georgia State campus, because I met with many more students there, I found students kind of looking at me weird when I wouldn't sit next to them. And I even had a few that if I sat across from them, they would get up and go around and sit next to me. They really wanted that close proximity. They really wanted to share their work with me or share their laptop with me. So that presentation really helped me rethink that and the benefit of that for the 2D. And so definitely like that one. The ESL one, I mentioned that in the presentation, or when the presentation was given. Just that I have not yet come up with a really effective way of working with students who don't speak English as their primary language and helping them to understand and be able to connect sentence structure and grammar with paragraph development. So grammar in the context that it's in. So appreciated some of the input on that and would like to read that paper. That was one of the things I had at the bottom, is that we don't seem to be sharing our final papers on our blog sites or with each other. And the other two were code switching and code meshing. I don't want to take up too much time because I know this is supposed to be 5 to 7, and I'm really going to try to stay with the time limit on this. But I'll just say about those two that being a Black woman and working with many students of differing races and differing genders, you really do have to adjust the way you communicate. And I like to think of both of those as positive and not negative. I like to think of code switching and code meshing as an extended language that one has the ability to use when communicating. And so I appreciated the focus on that and enjoyed what was shared on that. The next question asks to connect your own writing process as it is now to how you thought of it at the beginning of the course. When I saw that question initially, I said, my writing process hasn't changed much. But then I said, it has. The process per se has not changed. But the way that I'm communicating, or the way that I was able to communicate in this class, definitely changed. In that I was way more candid in my responses. I was thoughtful, very introspective, and a lot of the writing that I have done up to this point, I try to be introspective because I value that, and I even require that of my students when teaching. But when we're talking about other people's research and ideas, we're not always able to connect and think internally about what we value and what we want and, what makes sense to us. And so this type of writing for this class definitely allowed me to do that. My apologies. With the snow, the lights are flickering. So I appreciated that, and I'm sure others appreciated that as well. The final question: thinking about the practicum and the course as a whole, what would you consider the most transformational? Do you have ideas for improvement? So I always like to start with what's good, and I'll say starting with the writing process narrative genius. I loved that. Two things. I loved the opportunity in thinking about how I write. I don't think I've ever done that, even though I do a lot of metacognition with my students and reflection on what process they're employing. And even in the tutoring session, I'm trying to figure out where they are in the process and talking to them about a process. I don't also apply that typically to myself and think about what process works for me. And so I very much enjoyed doing that, critically thinking about that. The source book was a wealth of information about Writing Center scholarship. It really helped me to see how scholars are talking about the work in the Writing Center, and it really helped me to see what's important in the field and the value, what scholars value in terms of Writing Center work. I enjoyed Dr. Harker's discussion on the online, the archives of literacy narratives. I wish I had known about that when I taught the literacy narrative in the fall of 2016 in that Comp 101 class. Although I don't know, maybe the archive space wasn't available at that time. I'm not sure. I don't remember when. I know that's particularly new. But I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a great way to get students thinking about the writing work they do outside of the classroom and about extended audiences and about producing information for the digital environment, which I won't get into because that's Dr. Hawks' digital rhetoric class, and we'll talk about that another time. And I'm trying to hurry up because I've actually run out of time. And excellent additional readings too. Bouquet and Beth Hewitt, really enjoyed those. Some things that I would like to have had happen, more discussions of the source book readings. I felt like we were moving fast and not really digging in deep with those. I felt like we should have spent more class time being very critical of what we were reading and requiring students to be critical of those readings and really think them through. I'd like to see more engagement during class. The whole class discussions I think are great, but I'd like to see a little more variety in the activities that we participate in class. I very much enjoyed Jessica's activity where she had us writing on the board or the wall. Great for kinesthetic learners, and that was actually part of the discussion that day. But even more of that. So group activities, getting students involved in presenting information, requiring them to present information in a diverse way. Practicing some of the tutoring techniques, maybe doing some role play during class, having people come up and do role play and then having some discussion about what actually happened in that scenario. Just some ideas. Also would prefer more activities that get people sharing their practicum experience. So I don't remember hearing much about that at all. And I saw that as something we needed to do. But I think integrating that more into what we're doing in the classroom and what you're requiring as far as assignments helps students make the connection between how valuable that experience is and how well that experience informs the choices we make as tutors. Um, and then more emphasis on the Writing Center community. So the relationships between tutors, building community among tutors, and how that benefits the tutoring work. So just a few things I wanted to share. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. I hope you guys have a great holiday season, and I appreciate your support this semester. Thank you.